Coming up on today's news, New Day breakup plans, John Cena's WWE return date has been confirmed, Tempest review of last night's NXT, and more. Subscribe for daily wrestling news videos. Subscribe. Do it. Subscribe. 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 Subscribe.
Support WrestleTalk!
This Sunday is Money in the Bank, and Big E is challenging for the briefcase on Sunday, while his New Day cohort Kofi Kingston is trying to reclaim the WWE Championship from Bobby Lashley. What a time to be alive. Interestingly, Big E recently revealed that following Kofi Mania at WrestleMania 35, the last time Kofi challenged for the WWE Championship, there were plans for the New Day to break up. Speaking to Wrestling Daily's Alex McCarthy on TalkSport, E revealed, "I can't really divulge the conversation, but even from the top of the business, the very head of what we do, you know exactly who I'm talking about. He directly told us, hey, this is the idea, and we said, we're not feeling it." This was post Kofi Mania. There were people who wanted it earlier than that as well. If we'd done it, we would have missed out on so many great moments. I still think that doing it now or soon, there are great moments to come, and we have a lot more to offer. I think you'll see happy, clappy New Day for a very long time. But that's what someone who is on the verge of a breakup would say. Recent speculation has been that Big E will win the briefcase on Sunday, while Kofi wins the WWE Championship, and then E will cash in on Kofi and win the title off him. While it seems that the New Day members themselves might not be too keen on the idea, that doesn't necessarily always stop management from plowing right ahead with their plans. And with the intent from management seemingly being to split the group up, as E mentioned they wanted the split from before and after Kofi Mania, perhaps now might be the time to pull the trigger. Or they could just stay friends forever and never betray each other. That's also an option. You can watch more about the New Day breakup plans by checking out last night's Wrestling Daily with Alex McCarthy and Sat Niangi. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Would you turn Big E on the New Day at Money in the Bank? Let me know in the comments because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere for the first 30 minutes after this video goes live. But one of the things I'm most looking forward to this weekend is the return of fans, because man, I'm so desperate for WWE to be good again. The Thunderdome has been taken away, and may we never see it again. Please. It's been reported for quite a while now that WWE is also looking forward to getting fans back, as they've been holding out all of their good plans and shows for then, which makes perfect sense. Why put on good shows all the time when you can not do that and only put on good shows some of the time? It's what the fans want. They don't want shows to be good all the time. Promise. Some big names have been reported to be returning to assist with this WWE transition into touring once again, including Brock Lesnar and John Cena, and now the latter of the two has seemingly been confirmed to return soon. According to Fightful Select, Cena will be returning to WWE by July 23rd's episode of SmackDown, the post-Money in the Bank episode. There is a chance he could be returning before then, but with reports that he'll be facing Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, returning after Money in the Bank to set up that feud would seem to make the most sense. This would be Cena's first appearance since he was killed in the Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania 36. What a time. But we won't just have to wait until next week to get some exciting things happening within WWE, as alongside the return of fans as of this Friday's SmackDown, WrestleVote is reporting on Twitter that WWE has some cool and exciting things planned for this weekend. Expect a surprise or two. Truly a pivotal time in recent WWE history. Cool and exciting? Well, sign me up. No, seriously. Sign me up. Please have some cool stuff this weekend. In all seriousness, Money in the Bank is shaping up to be quite an important show, and we'll be doing our predictions for the event later today on the WrestleTalk podcast channel, but don't worry, the Jam That Championship isn't going anywhere. Thank you for being awesome Pledgehammers on Patreon, Shield Maiden the Zornice, and He's No Jackass, Dano. You can get your own shout out by visiting us at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Something that was both cool and exciting was the NXT North American title ladder match that took place at NXT TakeOver New Orleans in 2018. Adam Cole was crowned as the inaugural champion by pushing off the debuting Ricochet off the ladder, who are the only two people from that six-man match left in the company. One of the competitors in that 5-star match was the former Killian Dane, who, if you missed it, was on Quizlemania 38 last week on Parts Unknown. During that show, he spoke about that match and revealed it was supposed to have an entirely different finish. So the finish was meant to be way better than that, but the ladder buckled. Ricochet was meant to, we did it in practice. He springboards onto Lars's shoulders, and Lars continues to climb up the ladder. And then there would have been more shenanigans happen, but the ladder completely buckled, because one of us probably went through it at some point. So they changed the finish on the fly, and the boys did a brilliant job. That's one of those crazy things that they did so well to work out, because what was planned was incredible, but something went wrong. The equipment can only take so much weight, I guess. There was an awful lot of people being put through and onto ladders in that match, so this was rather unsurprising when you think about it. As first reported by TMZ, the lawsuit between Matt Riddle and indie wrestler Candy Cartwright, real name Samantha Tavel, has been dropped. Tavel reportedly filed for a dismissal of the case on Monday. The lawsuit alleged that Riddle had sexually assaulted her in April 2017, but Tavel's lawyer reportedly told TMZ that both she and Riddle have put this behind them and moved on. Riddle has denied the allegations. On last night's episode of NXT, Mandy Rose made her triumphant return to the brand. Observing the match between Saray and Gigi Dolin, Mandy then seemingly aligned herself with Frankie Monet, Aaliyah, and Jessie Kamea. What this means for Rose going forwards as a competitor on NXT, or her team with Dana Brooke on Raw, is unclear currently, though commentary did seem to put over that Rose was back on NXT, seemingly suggesting it's more of a long-term or permanent stay. No, WWE, you're supposed to take NXT women to the main roster, not the other way around. Just because you called up 3 on SmackDown doesn't mean your women's division is now fixed. The viewerships for the final Thunderdome shows are in, with last week's SmackDown drawing an average of 1.98 million viewers according to WrestleNomics. This was up from the previous week, which is hopefully a good sign of things to come with the return of fans for this Friday's show. Meanwhile, Raw from this week drew an average of 1.609 million viewers, which was fortunately up from the previous week's lowest viewership of all time of 1.47 million. And as a fun little factoid to finish off the news portion of the video today, Monday saw history made. For the first time, a wrestler both appeared on WWE and AEW on the same night. Because Raw was pre-taped, it allowed indie wrestler Kelsey Heather to also appear on AEW Dark Elevation on the same day that Raw aired. Heather appeared as one of Lashley's definitely not sisters on Raw, and lost to Layla Hirsch on Elevation. And now it's time for the intangibles to take over as I hand over to Tempest for the NXT review.
Boy, if you're here to listen to me rant about Dexter Lumis being back, you're in for a treat. What's going on, Intangibles? Tempest the Wrestler is back with another review of NXT in about 5 minutes. So this week's show opened up with a match between Dakota Kai and Ember Moon. Overall, this was a pretty solid opening match. They went back and forth throughout the majority of the contest, with Ember Moon eventually getting hit with the go-to kick, still the worst name for a finisher I have ever heard for the finish, with Dakota Kai picking up the win. Of course, after the match, Xia Li came down and challenged Raquel Gonzalez to a match for the NXT Women's Championship, a match that was later made official for next week. I'm not super excited for that match, but the big takeaway from this whole segment to me was that Ember Moon was the 4th most important person in this segment by the end. There was so much hype for her return to NXT last year, and since then, yeah, she was NXT Women's Tag Champion, but come on, that doesn't mean that much. She really hasn't done anything of note. We had a series of vignettes where LA Knight welcomed Cameron Grimes into his house to be his butler, and I wasn't the biggest fan, I'll be honest. The vignettes themselves weren't bad, as the first one saw Cameron Grimes have to get a makeover and dress up as a butler. The second had LA Knight telling him to mow his lawn with an old push mower, and then the third as the reveal of Cameron Grimes getting a young kid to do the work before pushing LA Knight into his pool. This is all well and good, but I think it would be much more effective to have LA Knight humiliate Cameron Grimes in this role week after week, eventually making people want to see Cameron Grimes beat LA Knight's ass that much more. Back in the ring, we had the in-ring return of Tyler Rust going one-on-one with Bobby Fish. I was really looking forward to this match when it was announced, but it wasn't given enough time to be a great match. It was really fun for the time they were given, but ultimately Roderick Strong got on the apron, distracting Bobby Fish, allowing Tyler Rust to hit a chop block and a buzzsaw kick for the win. Backstage, the Way were shown arriving at the building earlier in the day as Beth Phoenix walked up to Indy Hartwell and told her to just take a chance on Dexter Lumis. Let me give you some advice right now.
Don't take a chance on a serial killer.
The next match saw Saray take on Gigi Dolan, and it featured the bizarre return to NXT of Mandy Rose. Who saw this coming? Rose stood on the stage and watched the match, which also wasn't particularly long, as Sarray was able to get the win with an insane-looking dropkick in the ropes and a less than insane exploder suplex. There wasn't an explanation given on this week's episode of NXT why Mandy Rose is back, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not super invested in this so far. We then got Santos Escobar versus Dexter Lumis.
Tempest views regarding Dexter Lumis.
Get that garbage out of here. All authority's dead. No one's censoring me anymore. Santos Escobar hit him with a bunch of attacks in the early going, but Dexter Lumis did his little snake walk, and Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma were all spooked. Oh my god, how can we possibly deal with this crazy man? How about you just kick him in the face? You think of that? Ultimately, Legado del Fantasma pulled Lumis into the ring post, and Santos Escobar hit the Phantom Driver for the win. After the match, Hit Row came out onto the stage and squared up with Legado del Fantasma. It seems like we're probably still getting the North American Championship match between Santos Escobar and Isaiah Swerve Scott. Sign me up for that. That sounds like tremendous fun. We had the first match in the NXT Breakout Tournament as Ikeman Jiro took on Duke Hudson. I thought this was a very enjoyable match. Ikeman Jiro has a ton of charisma and a very likable character. He wrestles with his jacket on, and he's the king of handsome style. Very good stuff. I'd like to see more of him. I can't believe he got eliminated in the first round. That being said, Duke Hudson seems like the perfect kind of guy for WWE in that he's big and has some talent. I will give him that. Also, he looks like that one guy from Game of Thrones. I can't be the only one who sees it. There was good action here as Ikeman Jiro hit a big Acai moonsault to the outside and locked in the tarantula in the ropes before Duke Hudson ultimately hit a black hole slam for the win. I probably would have matched this tournament up differently so both of these guys could move on past the first round, but there's only so many spots, so you gotta do what you gotta do. Backstage, Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan brawled with Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, so it appears that those two teams will be going not one-on-one, that's not math. Looks like they'll be going 2-on-2 in the coming weeks. Sign me up for that. That also sounds like a lot of fun. Next up, we had a tag match as Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter took on Aaliyah and Jessi Kamea, and I didn't think this was very good. For the most part, this was very basic stuff, but even still, it didn't feel clean and polished like you would hope to see on a WWE show. The match ended as Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro hit a neckbreaker 450 splash combo, and then after the match, Aaliyah turned on Robert Stone, walking out on the Robert Stone brand. As Jessi Kamea was trying to decide which way she wanted to go, Frankie Monet came out and appears to be the new leader of the Robert Stone brand. Again, they could totally surprise me here, but I would not have booked Frankie Monet to be involved with this entire Robert Stone brand thing. Adam Cole came out and said the unsanctioned match at NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver was a fluke, as proven by his win last week. Cole said that no one in NXT was man enough to step up to him, and then he was answered by Bronson Reed, who's still in NXT, which is news to me. Seemed like he was just going to be written off with losing the title and then call up to the main roster, but nope. Still here. Reed said he had nothing left to lose after losing the North American title and did his big chest bump press thingy and knocked Cole down before Samoa Joe came out to referee the main event. We then got our main event, which was the NXT Championship match between Karrion Kross and Johnny Gargano. I thought this was by far the highlight of this show. Gargano jumped Karrion Kross at the bell before brawling around ringside with Karrion Kross hitting a big tree slam on the corner of the announce table. This looked awful. Oh my god. The match really got going, however, when Karrion Kross locked in his choke on Johnny Gargano, who almost passed out but grabbed the ropes, leading to Samoa Joe ripping Karrion Kross off of him. This led to Gargano's big near fall as he hit a suicide dive into a DDT on the floor before hitting one final beat for a very close pin, with Karrion Kross eventually then lifting him up into several powerbombs and hitting the Saito suplex for the win. After the match, Karrion Kross choked out Samoa Joe. They're really going hard with the Samoa Joe teases. I really hope that he gets cleared, because if they don't, all of these teases are kind of redundant. But I'm going under the assumption that he will be cleared and these matches will happen, so fingers crossed. Overall, this wasn't my favorite episode of NXT. I wonder why. The main event was very good, the tournament match was pretty good, and then the opener was pretty solid. Otherwise, this was a pretty missable show, if I'm being honest. I'm gonna go 3 out of 5. Pretty average show. You can watch it or don't. And that just about wraps it up for me. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this show, make sure you go over to WrestleTalk podcast later on today, where myself and Chopper P. Quinnell will be breaking down this entire episode of NXT. Also, make sure to go over to WrestleShop.com and get your LIW merch, and I will see you next week with hopefully less Dexter Lumis.
When Vince McMahon wants something, that's it. We've learned this. If he wants it enough,
we got to the hurt business.
Yeah, if he says this is happening, typically speaking, that's happening. It's either that's happening, or you're going to do a Steve Austin and you have to go. That is pretty much the two avenues once Vince makes his mind up. So Big E said to me,